Member of Parliament, Langata constituency, and I am in the Red Ring TV.
Mambo vipi watu wangu wa nguvu, kama kawaida ni kijana wako kaka J.
Kwa majina naitwa Honorable Clinton Nyawanga.
The Tuga Wichugeto President.
Make sure that you subscribe.
Siku zote tune in into Red Ring Media ili uweze kupata uondo wote.
Kindly like, follow na pia comment
and press that notification button so that you can be able to enjoy beautiful interviews.
Yes, a warm welcome to you from wherever you're watching from. My name is Tony Blair Onyango. Today is Saturday, and you know what that means. We are bringing you another exciting edition of Face to Face with the Gen Z. And today here in studio, we are talking about Vision 2060, the one that was launched recently by the President at Kenyatta International Convention Center. You know that Vision 2030 had been launched by President Kibaki, and it was supposed to make Kenya a competitive global economy. And so we are asking the young people today what they think about Vision 2030. We are going to have an appraisal of what that was, even as we look into the Vision 2060, also in line with Agenda 2063 of the African continent. So join me today, even as we delve into this topic. And in studio are a group of young men, eminent young men and women who are going to help us unpack this conversation, and also a panel that is going to face the Gen Zs. So at this point, allow me to welcome the Gen Zs. Let us give ourselves a round of applause. Karibuni sana and feel at Red Ring. Thank you so much for joining us for this exciting conversation. I know you people are very brilliant people and I'm very busy. So thank you for creating time, especially for you as the Gen Zs. To our panel also, karibuni sana. Thank you so much. Tuko na Alionya in the house. And Alionya atakuwa na leo kuna ku-inject. Let me at this moment allow my Gen Zs to introduce themselves. So we are going to do it a bit interestingly to kidogo. So I'm going to allow you an opportunity to introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, who you are, where you come from. Alafu as an icebreaker, pia tuambie which African leader do you look up to. Sindio, I know nyinyi ni watu very motivated, sindio. So tuanze na wewe John. Sindio, kwa sawa?
Yeah.
Karibu sana.
Okay, yeah. So thank you so much, OTB. My name is Murunga John. I am a news writer and a broadcast journalist. I'm also a youth advocate as well as an SDG advocate. So I like to say the female leader I look up to is someone called Grace Onyango. She was the first elected MP for Kisumu in 1969. Wow. That's the year my dad was born.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Just tumklokie my guys, jamani. Thank you so much, John, for that. Yeah. Very, very good. Yes, Candy.
My name is Kandi Obunga. I come from Migori County. I am a security analyst and also a sweet potato vendor. The leader that I look up to is Dambisa Moyo. She's an economist who has written several books to do with the economic situation in Africa and the solutions that we need to use for a bigger and better Africa. Thank you.
Wow, 2 o'clock, my guys. I'm loving the way the conversation is moving. Tuendelee Ivo. Yes, Valerie?
Thank you, Tony. My name is Valerie Ndanu. I come from Machakos University. I'm pursuing Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering. And the leader that I look up to is Anne Waiguru. From way back when I was in class 5, let me just say she's the first woman female leader that came to my mind, that I first interacted with and came to know about here. So I look up to her. She is the governor of Kirinyaga.
Wow. Yes. Tumklokie jamani. Thank you so much. Asante sana. You want to be a governor siku moja?
I wanted to be president.
Okay.
But let's see.
So, congratulations. Yes, Rose.
My name is Okeo Rose. I'm a political scientist and an aspiring policy analyst. I come from Homa Bay County. And the leader, I look up to 3 female leaders.
Okay.
Dambisa Moyo, the one she has mentioned, Millie Mabona, and Phoebe Asio, the late Phoebe Asio. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. 2 o'clock, my guys. Tumesahau. Asante sana. Napenda venye mna endelea hivyo, sindio? Karibu.
Hi. I'm Rosemary Mburu. I'm a statistics graduate from West. I'm currently working with Kemri. And the female leader I admire most is Ellen Johnson. She's recognized as the first African female president.
Yes, guys. Asante sana. Ellen Johnson Salif. Team.
Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon.
Yes, my name is Timo Odhiambo. I'm a businessman. I deal with imports of energy storage systems. I admire Isaiah Yunge, our immediate brother-in-law. Thank you.
Thank you so much, team. You said Isaiah Yunge. Asante sana. I know you are a businessman, so probably other businessmen, sindio? Asante. Karibu, Alphonse.
Yes, first of all, my sincere apologies for keeping you guys waiting. My name is Ochola Alphonse Odhiambo. I am an aspiring actuary by profession. I am the chairperson of an upcoming organization called the Chagua Kenya 2027, which is supposed to champion for peace and national cohesion. I also double up as a mentee from the PLO Foundation. And one of the female leaders that I look up to is Cecile Mbarire, who is the governor of Embu County. She's currently the best performing female leader by the recent statistic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alphonse, for that. And then finally,
greetings, ladies and gentlemen.
Greetings.
Oindo Francis, a statistician by profession, a businessman by daily routine, doing Irish potato businesses. So if you're in need of waru, they do say cash crop ya Nyandarua. Don't look far. I'm here for you. The woman leader that I'm looking up to is the former Kitui governor, Charity Ngilu. I won't say much about her consistency and what she has done in that leadership space is seen and heard. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Tujiklapie my guys. That was so insightful. Asanteni sana. And then finally tuko na panel yetu pia watatuambia the leaders they look up to. Tutaanza na Alionya hapa. You can introduce yourself alafu tuambie the leader that you look up to. Karibu Alionya.
Thank you very much. So I think most people know me as Alionya Roslyn. Yes, I'm just a young woman who loves politics. So I think there are two women I admire. One would be maybe the president of Namibia, the female president, for what she's doing to ensure that her country does not fall into debt bankruptcy. And then the other one, of course, will be my party chairperson for what she has been doing to ensure that the transition of the party has steadily moved forward, regardless of the challenges we have faced because of losing our party leader. And maybe I look up to myself as well. I think I motivate people out there. So I love myself sometimes. Yeah.
Aura 1000%. Asante sana Alionya. Yes, next to Alionya is Mundalo. Mundalo is not a new face to us. Amekuwa na sisi hapa. Please speak to us.
Thank you very much. As usual, again, my name is Mundalo Advice. I'm a communication strategist. I'm a political strategist. And I run Tusen's Leadership Institute. So we basically do leadership training and communication consultancy. On to your question about who do I admire, probably in the women leadership space. I'm inspired by leaders who their footprint is always there many years after they have left. One of those people was my vice chancellor in Kenyatta University, who was called Professor Olive Mugenda. Up to today, when you mention her name, people in the education space recognize what she's been able to do. And at the political space, I am inspired equally by my colleague there, by Sir Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who was the first lady president of Africa. And probably that's why my daughter is named after her. So I really admire her leadership. And the reason why I admire those ladies that I have mentioned is not because they are women, but it's because they're just leaders who did a good job, and coincidentally they were women. And they never used the aspect of them being women as a leadership qualification. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mundalo. And then last but not least is Chairman. Karibu sana wa convener.
Thank you very much. Now that you have already said I'm a convener, I can only say that the woman leader that I have always admired, but existed long time ago, was a lady called Eleanor Roosevelt, who was only a first lady. But we still remember him rephrasing the phrase, simple minds discuss people, average minds discuss events, and great minds discuss ideas.
Wow.
That was Eleanor Roosevelt, only a first lady.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, let us give a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you so much. And there's something I've been longing to do for a very long time, and I think right now is the best time ya kuifanya. And I'm going to ask you saizi, chairman bag ni ya nini?
I didn't see it coming.
But
So
you know the
Mundalo, can you
answer.
help me?
Mundalo saidia chairman bag ni ya nini?
Alele mtoto. I've just known this. So I'm asking everyone everywhere I go so that I look like I know more than they do.
Oh, nimeona by the way. Sitaki kuuliza, najua mnajua. Si ndio? Yeah, but anyway, let's get right into the conversation of today. Na tunaongelea hiyo vision 2060, si ndio?
Yeah.
Yenye ililaunchiwa juzi, but of course kulikuwa na the vision 2030 which was there before tuko 2026, so meaning we have probably 4 years or so na itakuwa imeisha, si ndio? So at this moment we are going to ask ourselves the all important question of what did vision 2030 realize? Ni vitu gani zilikuwa ndani ya vision 2030? What were the hits and the misses of vision 2030 even as we get into vision 2060? Of course I know Alionya ulikuwa pale kwa ile, you are in that meeting, so it would also be important for you to tell us some of the insights zenye mlitoka nazo pale, especially for the young people who might not have gotten that privilege ya kuattend, because I know when you are there, you are representing the voices of the young people. But I want to start with you, especially to you, the Gen Zs wenye mko hapa, because it is you who are going to inherit, ama you are going to experience a huge proportion of that vision, sindio? Maybe we can start with you, John, even as you head that way. What is this one thing that stood out for you in vision 2030? And what are the lessons maybe that we can learn from that? And overall your summary of your vision 2030 ilikuwa gani?
So when Vision 2030 was being launched, I was in top class. So everything I came to learn afterwards. So one of the things that stood out for me was the realization of the constitution just 2 years after the launching. And even President Ruto, when he was speaking on Wednesday, he said that the launching of Vision 2030 just came before the constitution. So I love the fact that politics has really evolved since then. Now that we realized things called devolution and all that, democracy has been on its peak since that time. And we've also seen high rise in the financial status of Kenya in terms of the GDP. The GDP has been rising. Perhaps in the recent years ndio imekuwa chini kidogo because of the COVID-19. But I can say we had something that we were supposed to achieve to sustain the GDP of around 15%. But as of now, I think we are stuck at 7-point-something%. So that's where I feel that we missed something, and I feel like the government should do something because we know what drives the GDP and we know what should be done. So that's on the part of the government, and it's in our part as the young people. It's in our part as the young people to build on our side so that we can also help the government on its side, because the tomorrow is being built by you and me.
True.
Yes.
Thank you so much, John, for that. And just to mention maybe a few highlights of that Vision 2030, kulikuwa na hiyo the blueprint which was supposed to transform Kenya into a middle-income industrialized nation. I know there were the economic pillar, kulikuwa na the social pillar and the political pillar. And according to the scores zenye tuko nazo hapo, tunaona the political pillar ni kama ilifanya vizuri sana at 88-point-something%. The social pillar pia at 59.5%. Of course, that is on education, clean water na mambo kama hizo. And then the economic pillar ndio mali inakati kama tuli drag kidogo, especially because there was a target of a 10% average annual GDP growth rate, and hiyo ni kama tumestagnate, we've not been able to realize that. And amongst the flagship projects wenye zilikuwa nazo pia was transport networks. We saw the construction of the standard gauge railway, tukaona certain regional hubs such as the commissioning of the Kisumu oil, tukakuwa na devolution and the county metrics, amongst many other things. So it is against that backdrop that I want us to talk about it, and of course also basing our argument on what the president mentioned the other day, trying to give comparison between our what do you call it, per capita income and the per capita income of different states zenye tuko nazo, si ndio?
Yes.
So maybe we can move to you, Candy, and maybe also to give us a few insights from what you think overall in terms of both visions, whether you think it's actually necessary for us to have vision 2060. Unaweza kuwa upo umefikiria maybe wewe unaona hata tufai kukuwa na vision 2060, maybe we should be having vision 2090, si ndio? Yeah, so maybe you can speak to us, Candy, to see.
I think it's very important to have such roadmaps because they put us in a situation where we are able to reach certain goals beyond a certain time. So when we talk about Vision 2030, I would like to talk about infrastructure. You talked about the SGR, the expansion of dual carriageways. That has opened up economic hubs within the country. So that is always a plus. When we talk about the constitution, such as my fellow Gen Z talked about here, devolution is a very, very beautiful thing. And courtesy of Vision 2030, the constitution was promulgated, and so we have counties now. Devolution is happening. There's easier access of government facilities and services down to the grassroots.
Yeah.
That's a very good thing. When we talk about healthcare, when we talk about education, there's 100% intake as previous in comparison to other governments. So that's always a good thing. When now we talk about Vision 2060, that was the conversation that was recently had, it is the same thing, but also now expanding it further in relation to how the world is also expanding. There was a lot of talk to do with security. There was a lot of talk to do with AI, which is a very big conversation happening in the country. So having young people be involved in the conversation, see where AI is taking us, how we can plug in, that is the beauty of what Vision 2060, Vision 2030 does.
Wow.
Thank you.
Right up to clock, my guys. Indeed. Thank you so much, Candy, for that very, very good presentation. Of course, in terms of trying to give us a comparison of the two, and also trying to tell us that indeed one is not the opposite of the other. Probably one maybe just seeks to complement the work that has begun and the work that needs to go on maybe in the coming years. So perhaps you can move to you also, Valerie, from the lenses of an engineering student. You can tell us what stands out for you from Vision 2060, and what are some of the priority areas you think that maybe need to be given more importance even as we head into Vision 2060, and your overall summary of the two vision.
Thank you, Tony. Do you mind repeating the first question? I had the point, but I don't.
Yeah, I know you are an engineering student, so I know maybe you are very, very much interested in Vision 2060, especially as a cardinal point. You are in the STEM, Cindy uko kwa STEM hapo, and we know the potential that STEM has, especially in regards to industrializing a country. So what do you think for you is a priority looking at both Vision 2030 and Vision 2060?
Okay, thank you, Tony. I think what I'm happy about the Vision 2060 is that there's a lot of inclusivity. Where the government is not saying that it will only take advice or it will only work based on its opinions or whatnot, but it's actually agreeing to hear the opinions of the rest of the citizens. It wants to get views from different people, just as you have said. Yeah, I'm doing engineering, so they're allowing us to give out some of our ideas which previously they were not able to get. So now I think that's a very good thing, because now we can voice out our opinions, and they can actually, which they're good. So now they can actually work on them, and we can help better the country. Yeah, and just as Candy has said, I think the Vision 2030 and 2060 are not different. They're just, the Vision 2060 is just, it's helping us. It's like a stepping stone it's something like motivates. It shows you it's like you're increasing something.
Yeah.
So you are not able to achieve this. Okay, we have other ways of doing this and that, on how to achieve this and that. So I think they're not so different.
Yeah.
It's just as she has said, goals, and they're kind of similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Perfect. And maybe, Rose, you can tell us, I know you are a political scientist from Rongo University, so you can tell us, what do you say to people who want to politicize this whole discussion on Vision 2060? You've seen the opposition come out and try to point certain fingers that, oh, this has not been done, this has not been captured. So what do you say to the naysayers, and maybe what does that mean to our country?
I think when it comes to Vision 2060, we don't have to politicize it, because this has everything to do with matters development. And I have no problem with people criticizing it, because in each and every policy, we'll have people who will come to critique. But I would advise these people to come and critique it in a better way, rather than politicizing it, and rather than centering the whole discussion around political personalities. And then again, I'd say in Vision 2030, there are things that were not consistent.
Okay.
We didn't have policy consistency. And then the aspect of corruption came out. And then when it also comes to education, it has not, okay, our education system has been very good, but when it comes to matters employment, imekuanga ni ngumu sana.
Okay.
So I feel like those are the things that you're supposed to bring out rather than politicizing the whole issue. Like, we need to sit down and look at the matter intensively.
So according to you, Rose, you feel that the question of unemployment has been an issue that is in regards to Vision 2030. So how do you think, maybe going into 2060, what are some of the maybe remedies we can take so that then we don't have the same problem that now after Vision 2060, we still have a higher chunk of young people who are still unemployed, they don't have meaningful opportunities?
Yesterday, I asked, when to look up Face the Nation, I asked Wakili Nyamori a question. I asked him, when it comes to our education system, it is good. There's a lot of investments, but is it that we are learning or we are educating ourselves for certification or getting into the job industries? So I feel like, okay, what I can really contribute is that when it comes to education, even after I'm done with my education, I can get into the job industry. Per se, I'm a political scientist. And most people say that political science does not have jobs. Get the point? So what I would want, I as a political scientist, is to get into policy analysis, and I get trained as a policy analyst. Because at the end of the day, by the time tumefika Vision 2060, there are also other projects that are going to, we as political scientists, we are going to come up with such ideas, just like Professor Anyang' Nyong'o.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Tumklokie guys, jamani. Thank you, ilikuwa so important. And maybe to the lady, yeah, you can tell us, team, tuambie maybe what are some of the areas you think that Vision 2030 ili succeed in, ni areas gani una feel kwamba haiku succeed in venye tuli expect?
Thank you, Bwana Tony, for that opportunity. Yeah, when we revive Vision 2030, I must mention that the most lucrative part that the government tried to invest a lot in was infrastructure and development. This ideally was to help us raise our economy, because movement of people and goods within a country through proper development eases everything. So the economy would have gone up. But I'm glad, as much as we would try to think that the economy didn't do so well according to statistics, but we recorded a positive growth rate entire year. Though we didn't get to our standard, but we tried because of the development the government kept in place. For example, we still have some 4 years, which I know we are going to complete some 2 important corridors in our country. The one is going from Mombasa to Malaba. I hope we'll be done by that road by the time we're getting 2030. It will help us unlock so many opportunities to better our GDP as a state. And that one will create a proper environment for even the young people. Because as we all know, the Vision 2030 particularly targeted the young Kenyans, so who could at least become innovation. You know, there was part of technology again in the Vision 2030.
we must appreciate technology in Kenya. As for example, we take it so lightly, but our mobile money becomes the innovation of the century. We must understand that, because movement of money instantly is a global challenge. Some of us experience international banks with big names, but you receive a transaction, but it takes 5 to 7 days. But you know, M-Pesa, mtu akikwambia anatuma, ni hivyo. So our technology also grew. We need to appreciate, and we are now getting into 2060. 2060, I had the president, His Excellency President William Ruto, talked about much of inclusion. Yeah, our country has not been properly represented in terms of service delivery, and that is why I hear, even nowadays, I hear people of 40 years are getting their IDs. Ideally, these are people that have been outside the government systems, and they are not been into our data. So inclusion is an important thing.
Okay.
If the government can continue to include every individual, we will get better as a country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, team. I know you're a business mogul, so you have been so passionate about your issue, your money transfer, and we wish you well. Sindio, tuende kwako Alphonse, and you can tell us, is it possible to realize this vision, because these are long-term visions, 30 years or so, at a time when we have presidents being elected after every 5 years?
Well, thank you so much, Tony. So first of all, I want to reflect on Vision 2030. If you look at the assessment of that particular vision in its entirety, you realize that the overall scorecard was 66%. You said that the political pillar took the day. The social pillar came second, and the economic pillar was lagging.
True.
Now, what led to this? If you look at the political pillar, the political rivalry between the opposition and the government was in such a way that it ensured the strengthening of electoral reforms and our democratic processes and our judicial processes. Why am I saying this so? The kind of rivalry that was there between Raila Odinga and each and every income government ensured that there were reforms in the IBC sector, there were reforms in our judicial processes, because when it came to now analyzing the court cases that did arise after each and every particular election, all those processes ensured the strengthening of our electoral reforms. So at least to some extent, everyone had faith in our electoral processes. As much as it is not 100% perfect, but if you look at from 2008, those are the things that led to the development of the constitution. I think the entire process, by the proactive approach of every citizen being involved in electoral process, ensured that that political pillar had a scorecard of 88%. Let us move to the social pillar. I think the social pillar, what happened in that particular area is that people became more free to some extent. People were able to interact, though still that was affected by tribalism and ethnic balkanization. Now, if you move to the economic pillar foresaw economy to be, the GDP growth of the economy was supposed to be on 10% growth on annual basis, right? But look at what has happened in the recent years during the Ruto government. The economy has been on a stagnant growth rate of 4%, 4.6%, 4.7%. In 1 year after the Vision 2030 was initiated, the economy jumped from a growth of around, was it 0.6% to 6.1% because of that initiative of recovering the economy back then. So when it comes to economic growth rate, I think lack of political goodwill has affected our GDP growth rate to some extent. And when the economy is not growing, there will be unemployment. There will be insecurity problems, right? Because you don't have anywhere to get your source of living from. Now, let us move to I think what happens with the social pillar is more of lack of implementation of the constitution. We have rules. We have a lot of rules, in fact, in Kenya that governs each and every particular aspect of our lives. But lack of implementation and political goodwill, so that any leader who comes to power, they only implement the constitution based on how it serves them, not because it has an interest in serving the general populace. I think that is a That was one of the major problems that I realized. Lack of political goodwill. And let us now go to corruption also.
Okay.
Corruption is quite a menace. I think that is the area that has not been addressed more fundamentally and clearly. I think that area is still blurred because I think nobody is coming up with concrete evidence against people who they are accusing of corruption. That is one of the things. And people who dare to come up with such evidence, you see, you all know what happens to them.
Yeah.
That is a problem. But when it comes to the steps that we have made, if you look at the financial infrastructure, what technology has done to us is quite tremendous. Now, what am I looking up to when it comes to Vision 2060? Number one, I'm looking at a state where the GDP growth rate is surpasses the growth rate of the population and inflation. So that means that our economy will be more progressive. I'm looking at a country whereby we will be having sustainable fiscal policies to try to achieve those particular growth rates that we are looking to. And when I'm talking about sustainable fiscal policies, we need to expand our economy in such a way that the amount of tax that we do charge for, I think, private and public sector investment should be in such a way that it is not scaring away investors. When it comes to access to particular financial systems or judicial systems, they should be in such a way that they are favoring investors to come in and invest. Because if you want to open up the economy and let's say an investor is coming, a foreign investor is coming, and one issue that we have is land, and you have not solved the issue of land. I mean, it sounds so cynical for them to come and eject their facilities in our country. So I think those are the areas that we need to assess. Plus, I had a problem when Governor Nyong'o said on a national television show that when they were coming up with that Vision 2060, youths were not involved in the architectural designs of that particular vision. I think that is so appalling. That is why he struggled with the issue of AI. That is why, because I think now AI is a thing, and we need to balance the effects of AI and critical thinking to ensure that the economic stewardship is progressive and goes on very well. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Alphonse, for that reflection. I think that was also important in terms of setting the context of what we're discussing today, especially on the issue of the political goodwill and also on the issue of economic growth rate versus the population growth rate. So thank you so much for that. I think it is very important. And maybe now to you, Francis, you can tell us your overall summary of Vision 2030, even as we head into Vision 2060, and perhaps also add on to what the presentation that Alphonse has had, whether you foresee that kind of political goodwill that then allows the implementation of whatever is enshrined in Vision 2060.
I'll start by saying that anyone who is in this room today once had a vision. And if you thought you didn't have, then you lie to yourself. A country or an individual or even an organization or any institution have something called a vision. A vision, in simple terms, is a clear picture of where you are planning to be after a period of time. Because any man today who has kids, he didn't just wake up and have kids. He first looked for a wife. Then after getting the wife, they maybe discuss on how many number of kids they will have. Some don't discuss, they just come.
That is true.
So when Vision 2030 was coming to this country, some of us were not aware of such a thing. But today we are here discussing it with a lot of energy. You have told us that Vision 2030 had 3 pillars. Well, we had the economic pillar and the social pillar and the political pillar. Sadly, the economic pillar is coming to be the last one. And in a normal country, the economic pillar was supposed to be scoring high out of the 3. But you can't say that is bad, because in every race there must be a winning side and a losing side. Vision 2030 has done much to us. We can't disregard it. In terms of infrastructure, ICT level in this country is very high. Science, technology, and education also, we can't disregard that. Public sector policies today they are very good, because today in Kenya we also have a phrase in our constitution which says that in any employment or in any government institution, the number of employees, a certain percentage must not come from a certain region or a certain tribe or a certain ethnic group. So that has also helped us diversify our demographic aspect of our country. But now we are heading to conversation beyond 2030. What do we want as a country when we reach the vision 2060? Me, I'll just put it this in a simple terms.
Yes.
Let us not harden things. The only thing that explains if a country is working well or a country is not moving forward are only three things: education, affordable health. If it not be free, then affordable health and guaranteed food security. So our visions come 2060 should explain to us how are we going to achieve these three things across all these pillars that we are having today: the economic pillar, the social pillar, and the political pillar.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Let us clap for ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Asanteni sana for those reflections, and I'm happy because when I look at the kind of things you people are saying, it shows, number one, that you are interested in the leadership of the country. You are concerned about how the country's affairs are being governed and are being run. So I appreciate that. And I know that we also play a very cardinal role in terms of how the country is governed and how things move. So give it to yourself, guys, for that. It is my hope that we shall be able to play our important role. At this point, I want to invite the panelists. Of course, you've heard what the young people are saying, the Gen Zs are saying. You've heard the reflections. They have raised pertinent issues as to what they expect and the role they intend to play in the coming days. I'm going to allow at this point Rosalind and Leonia to give our own presentation, also maybe to respond to what the young people are saying and to help us make sense of the reflections they've just given to us.
Thank you. I think as someone who was who attended the KICC event when they were launching the conversation, there are three things that the president highlighted. I remember the first one was he was inviting us to a conversation. He was not telling us the kind of vision he has for the country. He was asking us what type of country do you want? Because they kept on emphasizing, even with Dr. Oburu, that probably by 2060 they won't be there. But for me, in 2060, I'll be 56 years old. The second thing the president emphasized is that the name of this vision is not 2060. It is the people to sit down and decide, are we planning for the country for the next 30 years like we planned previously, or for the next 100 years? So I think it is up to Kenyans now to decide, do we now plan again within the time frame of 30 years or the next 100 years? 2060 is a name that came from Wamunyoro. We should not associate Wamunyoro items with such a big vision. It might actually clobber our eyes that we're not able to see the future. But I love what my peers have said. Okay, the third thing I was trying to forget is the president was willing to facilitate, because I remember he emphasized that the political class will not be part and parcel of creating this vision. They'll just facilitate. So he was emphasizing to my fellow young people, and I love what they have highlighted by looking at the achievements and where we missed. He was emphasizing that it is us, the young people, the Gen Zs, to come on the table and ask ourselves, what kind of health system, health insurance do we want, apart from SHA? If SHA fails in the next 5 years, how else would we want the health insurance to happen? And it should be an equitable health insurance cover. The same thing to education. And one thing I loved with that conversation is that we had everyone, but the majority of the people in the room, I think almost 80% were young people. Everyone who was being given a microphone was a young person. In fact, it even went further, where we saw 7-year-old children coming on podium and saying the kind of country they would want when they grow up. We had the school-going children coming to tell us some of the achievements that this government and previous governments have done as far as Vision 2030 is concerned, and what they would wish for the future. So I think mine is just to encourage that all young people, regardless of the political divide, because unfortunately we didn't see anyone from the opposition there. I know if my party leader Baba Raila Amolo Odinga was alive, even if they were not seeing eye to eye with President Ruto, he would have shown up give his contribution, because the vision is for us as a country. So I will maybe call upon also the opposition, the leaders like Kalonzo Musyoka and everyone, come on board and tell us, what would you want? How would you want this country to function differently? But let me also highlight some of the things that Professor Hino highlighted. I think for him, he was so much concerned about our childhood. How are we going to raise our children moving forward? And then the reason why we have failed in economic pillar, of course, is unemployment. But he was highlighting and saying when they were doing the statistics, the greatest pillar of our economy is agriculture. So he was challenging the president and telling him, instead of focusing on maybe the big farms, why can't you focus on the small and medium enterprises so that you are able to increase the revenue you collect? So he challenged the presidency in terms of how we are going to raise our children. And I think maybe it speaks to culture, because the things we did in 2024, in as much as we are proud of the successes, we destroyed a lot of things. And in one way or another, even the society has not yet accepted the Gen Z in terms of leadership. Even if you contest, the society is not seeing, Leonia can now be a leader. We are seen as distractors. And in as much as we look at ourselves as victorious, or rather, how would I call it, strong and outspoken people, in one way or another, we have, there's a very big gap between us and the rest of the society. So that gap, and ensuring that the children we raise also have some aspects of culture, respect for the rule of law, etc. I think that is what he was trying to highlight. And then the last thing, I think I had noted them down, the aspect of agriculture, yes. He was trying to challenge us that instead of depending on the international market, because that is where we take our coffee, that is where we take our avocados, the market prices will always vary depending with the season. So how can we look beyond, so that regardless of what is happening in USA, you can still make money from your coffee. Regardless of what is happening in China, in Israel, you can still sell your product. So he was trying to challenge us. And I think that's why, from his discussion, that's why I asked the question, why is it that we are farming maize in Kakamega and then we have the industries in Thika? To me, as a geographer, I would maybe speak to the aspect of inequality in the distribution of infrastructure. And I think that's what this government is trying to do. Because if we had enough roads in Kakamega, enough airports, enough SGR, even Dangote would prefer to farm pineapples in Thika and still do maize milling in Kakamega and still create a lot of employment for the people of Kakamega, equally for the people of Thika. And then now we have like an equitable way of developing the country. So me raising that concern was from the discussion that the professors were having, highlighting the challenges. So I think it is a moment I would call on all the young people. Me, I might be good in geography, in agriculture. You could be good in IT. The way my brother has said here, I think it is a challenge also to Professor Nyang' Nyong'o and his team. Their team, when they were presenting the document in State House, did not have women and did not also have young people. So even the president challenged them. So I hope for the next maybe 60 days, they should unveil the whole committee that encompasses young people. And young people also have demographics. Even a Gen Alpha should be there, and a Gen Z should be there, and a millennial, because those three ecosystems are so different.
True.
Because if you look at how Gen Alphas were presenting themselves in the conversation in KICC, it is so different from how Gen Zs were speaking. It is so different from how the millennials. But at the end of the day, we all need that that employment. So if you can find a way of bringing a team, and especially that will focus on AI, because they ignored it, but education is going AI way, agriculture is going AI way, health sector the same. So there's automation and machine learning in these industries. So they need to bring IT experts on board. I think that would be my
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Aliona. But even before we move to Mundalo, you you've given a challenge to the young people to try and also maybe get involved in the process. But what is the assurance you're giving to the young people that they're not just being called to the table to be seen? Because we've seen a couple of times young people will be called into those rooms, they'll give very, very insightful ideas, but then immediately they leave, those input are not included in that presentation, and the input that they have given is not really captured into that and is not even implemented. So sometimes they even think that they're disillusioned. Why should we be part of the process when we know very rightly that we will not be, our input will not be included?
I think this time round, you have even reminded me something that Professor Hino told us, that the way we use social media in 2024, we should now use social media now to do accountability of whatever we are going to discuss.
Yeah.
So if they will not include a young person, and then you have given an idea and then they ignore it, of course we still have the records. Let us use social media to say, there's someone who proposed this and that. Nonetheless, I love what Mundalo always tells young people, packaging of your messaging. Because yesterday we were in a discussion and we were not even able to come up with recommendations in the face-to-face. So people are politicizing it. So if you are given an opportunity on the table, I mean, give your best, because there's a high likelihood you'll never be given a microphone again. But how can you package your message? How can you package your proposal, your recommendation, so that when you leave that door, every investor wants to say, we need to look for Alionya. Alionya had this proposal. They want to look out to you, so that even if the government ignores, the private investors are there, the civil societies are there. So I think we need to package our messaging and our recommendations very well. But also, when we give our recommendations and they're not looked into, let us use social media as an accountability tool to call out.
Viva, thank you so much. Let's just give a hand for Alionya. Thank you so much for that. I believe the young people, you are taking note of what the panelists are saying, and as I normally say, si lazima ukubaliane now. In case there's something you need a bit of clarity on or clarification, note it down. I'll give you an opportunity. Utauliza if there's any question uko nayo, and also if there's somewhere you disagree, if there's an important point and you may not, pia nitakupatia nafasi and you'll contribute, si ndio? Other than that, to our viewers been watching, we are live on Face to Face with Gen Z. Tuko na Alionya in the house, we have got Mundalo, and we have got Chairman also, Doyowidi, and the young people also, and this is an intergenerational dialogue. Sisi tumeshaanza yetu pia hapa sasa ya Vision 2060. Join us na mtume maswali zenu pia hapo kwa comment section. We'll read them and they'll help us also answer them. So welcome Mundalo, and we've seen that the political pillar has done very well, and perhaps you can tell us why is it that the political pillar inafanya vizuri sana and then the economic pillar, because I would expect that kama political pillar inafanya vizuri, then also the economic pillar inafaa iendane hivyo, and also going into the future. Could we also maybe tutakuwa tunaona another situation where the political pillar will do very well and then the economic pillar in a lag, and does that point to the overemphasis on politics that we have as a country?
Thank you very much, Tony. I think to begin with, I think for me, the act of the president, in him coming out and saying that let us discuss the vision of the country, less than 400 days to the next election, is in itself very historic. Because we are living at a time where the politics is always what preoccupies our mind. That is why our political pillar was number one. So as it stands today, most of my expectation, and any ordinary Kenyan's expectation, would be that President Ruto would be preoccupied with his election. But here he is preoccupied with the vision of the country. And that is the reason why when he came up to give a State of the Nation address, I don't know whether that is what it was called previously, most of the people felt that they were disappointed in the speech of the president, right?
Yes.
But most of the reason why they were disappointed is because their expectation was political.
Yes.
And that shows you why our political pillar is at almost 80%. Because most of the time we are so politically charged. So for me, first of all, it's a very good signal for the president as the head of state himself, even in a politically charged environment as it is today, for him to invite us to a conversation about the vision of the country, not about his own personal agenda, which is political. And number two, I would also recognize the importance that REDRING media has placed on this conversation. Because it's one thing for you to be invited to an objective conversation, but most of the time our media chooses the pettiest of the conversation. That we are seated here for us to have an objective, in-depth look into this vision. I think it is something very, very important, and it makes me glad that in a country where the media is becoming sensational day by day, we are having some like REDRING media and you, Tony, that wants to still have this kind of objective conversation. Now, for me to just contextualize this aspect of Vision 2060, and why is there preoccupation calling it Vision 2060 and something like that? It is because we have an African vision, and unilaterally we have something called the African Vision 2063.
Hello?
And that is why most of the visions today for countries in Africa would be anchored around that figure, 68 around there, because we have an African Vision 2063. So that is what informs that that name. It's not necessarily the opposition. I don't think so. But where do we? You want me to use this? No. Yeah. I use this. Yes. Okay. But now, where exactly did we get Vision 2030? Vision 2030 comes in 2008. Remember, in 2008, the country is just coming out of the post-election violence. So the political temperatures are very charged, and people are pulling from one end to the other. But still, President Kibaki invites us for us to start having that conversation of Vision 2030. And what does Vision 2030 anchor on? Vision 2030 anchors a lot on industrialization and moving Kenya towards being a middle income economy. And of course, it becomes anchored on the three pillars: the political, the social, and the economic. Of course, as we've read before, we do very well in the political pillar. That's why even a child today in Kenya has a political opinion. We are always discussing the politics. Even when we meet here, most of the time, when the discussion is about one term or two term, we are more charged than when it's about the state of the economy or climate change.
Exactly.
Because most of the time, we only want to discuss the politics. And that's how our political pillar does very well. We also do well towards, as the implementation of Vision 2030, in terms of our infrastructure. Because that is where we see the SGR, the bypasses, and all that. So there is very good, significant infrastructural growth still within that Vision 2030 that we actually get to achieve. We also do very well in terms of the digital footprints, and my brother has just spoken of M-Pesa. So those are some of the things that we really, really do very well as we come toward the implementation of the Vision 2030. Of course, we fall short of the glory in some of the things, like we hoped to achieve double-digit growth rate. Yeah, but then when you look at how politically active we were, it almost explains why we couldn't achieve the double digit. Because most of the time when you are so politically charged, even economics, you discuss it using politics. Okay? And that hinders growth. That's why even today, when you are invited to a conversation about Vision 2063, Vision 20, the vision that we're having now as a country, you realize that most of the time, again, people want to discuss one term and two term, because it's always the easier conversation for us to have, because we are so used to our political conversations. That is the reality. So we fall short of that double-digit transformation. And so what am I looking at when we are moving to Vision 2060 as a person beyond 2030? And one of the anchorages that this vision is anchored on is that whereas the other one looked at industrialization and moving us towards a middle-income economy, this one is looking at making us globally competitive. And what does globally competitive means? It means that we are looking at a situation whereby when a child is born in Kenya and another child is born in Singapore, those two kids have almost equal opportunity. That when you go to school in Kenya and when you go to school in Singapore, no one has gone to school more than the other. Remember, we are in a situation where most of the time when our professionals, when they leave Kenya to go work anywhere else in the other countries, they have to go through retooling, retraining, so that they can get to the level of that country. So this vision is trying to tell us, can we be globally competitive? That the opportunity, the healthcare, that when a child is born somewhere in Migori, the facility that they will be born into can equate the facility that a child born in Singapore is also being born into. So that the situation is not as it is today, whereby the inequality is not just in our country, is not just in the country, but even there's a variance even in our counties and our geographical location. And I'm sure that most of you know that even our life expectancy in Kenya is higher in some areas than in others, yet we're in the same country. That when you are born in Migori, you are more likely, your expectancy is not supposed to almost go beyond 57 years. But when you are born in Kiambu, it can get to 70 years. So these are the inequalities that we are talking about. So this vision is trying to tell us, what can we be globally competitive? That our opportunities can actually be the same. That is the direction that the country is heading to. And there is a big difference in terms of the execution between 2060 vision and what President Kibaki gave us. President Kibaki presented to the country a vision. But President Ruto is inviting the country to create its own vision. That is the key difference here. That President Ruto is saying, in fact, when I heard him, I didn't have, I'm not as connected and as privileged as Alionia. So I wasn't in that conversation. But I watched him. And what I watched him say is that I am not inviting you to this conversation as president. I also want to take part in this conversation as a Kenyan. And to me, I felt that was very fundamental. That is trying to tell us, guys, it is not about our political affiliation. Let us discuss where do we want this country to move to. So this is actually the first vision that Kenya is going to have that has inculcated public participation. That all of us are having a voice. That all of us are able to say we even have a problem with who attended that place and who did not attend. Yeah, we are even being told, we are having a opportunity to say, why didn't the young people get involved? Like what my brother there said, and which was very heavy, and said that's why we are missing it on AI. So this is an opportunity for us to participate fully in creating this vision. And that's why I find it very, very significant for one particular reason, that President Ruto is faced with an election less than 400 days from now. But what is preoccupying his mind is not necessarily the next election, but the next generation. And that's why there has been very little, even rebuttal from other political leaders, because they have not yet changed their mindset to discussing issues. They still want us to discuss this vision belongs to Ruto. So vision one term. I think someone is almost falling short of just saying this vision one term.
One term to the vision.
One term to the vision. So I find it very significant that we can actually have this conversation going forward. And I've always said it's important that we package our information right, so that at the end of the day, I argued yesterday that, remember, this vision is more about me and you than about those people in offices today. Because the high likelihood that me and you will be here in 2060 is higher than the likelihood that all those leaders you support will be here in 2060. And for us not to anchor on politics, it should remind us that in 2008, when this vision was being curated, it was they had just finished post-election violence. So political temperatures were high. But today, as we discuss its implementation, nobody is discussing the political temperatures. In fact, most of you might have been 2-3 years during that when those temperatures were high. So you're not caring about the political temperature. You are caring about, did we move forward? And in equal breath today, as we start the conversation and the anchorage of the vision of Vision 2060, let us stop the imagination of the politics. Because when Alionya will be 56 years that time, and a young person like you will be discussing what has been able to be shaped that time, they will not have any idea that during that time when the vision came, there was something called one term and two term. So a time comes when sometimes you must be objective and canvass the future of the country. Thank you.
Wow, let us give a hand to advice. Thank you so much, Mundalo, for that. Really, really profound presentation, especially on why we have been lagging behind, especially on the economic pillar. And I'm happy that the young people, I normally say this is one of the best examples of intergenerational dialogue, because you are able to tell us what the past has been looking like, and the young people are eagerly listening to what you are presenting, also learning from you. How many of us by there are learning anything from the presentations you're having? Thank you so much, guys, for that acknowledgement. And I also want to thank our subscribers who have been with us for the past 1 hour and for sharing with us. Please make sure keep it there. To those who have not yet subscribed, please subscribe, like, share, and comment. Stay with us. So last but not least, we want to listen to you, Mwalimu, and we want to make use of your institutional memory to help us also understand tumetoka wapi na tunaenda wapi, what are some of the challenges zenye zimefanya tuko hapa, and going forward, how do we prepare ourselves for this vision? Because it is one thing to, and then also it is collective responsibility. What do the young people need to do even as this vision is being unleashed? So karibu sana Mwalimu.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, young ladies and gentlemen. I think the problem we have in this country today is whatever begins in this country as a noble project of the government or of the state, there are people who twist them and then begin to instigate response against the twisted one. When the president was launching what he was doing yesterday and before, it was understood and believed to be a conversation leading to beyond Vision 2030. We had not even talked about Vision 2060. What do we want to do after Vision 2030? It consisted also of evaluating the achievement of 2030 and plugging the maybe gaps, and then finding out where we went wrong, and also evaluating why we didn't achieve 100% of what we set out to do. But because everything in Kenya is politics, it is not surprising that Vision 2030 succeeded largely on the political sphere than the economic and social. We must also remember that why politics succeeded most is because we enacted a new constitution, which also came up with certain independent institutions in this country. But do you know the joke? The actual drivers of that new constitution were largely not formal sectors. They were politicians. So politics in this country seem to be driving us. It is not surprising that when President William Ruto came up with this conversation, people, even before he went to the press, told us that he's coming to tell us about 2060. And then told us that he should not talk about 2060 because he will not be there. And then told us that he has failed, so he should keep quiet and wait for us to come and launch the 2060. Such statements are very unfortunate, because a brilliant man is that person who understands why Mundalo could be wrong. They understand why Irene could be wrong. Because you need to understand what information they have that leads them to that conclusion. But if you cannot understand what information one has that makes his opinion different from yours, then you are not worth debating with anybody. So we must have a country where we look at things for who they are, and we learn to understand that in politics, the key tool they use is propaganda. Now they have told you what is happening is 2060, and now they are beginning to analyze it by telling you, oh, there is no secretariat, there is no proper committee, there is no inclusivity. We are launching a journey. We are at the start of that journey. So now we are going to set up those committees. We are going to set up the timelines. We are going to take your opinions into it, and then we have a future vision for this country. Every entity, including in families, we have vision for that family for the future. We begin by taking you to school in class 1, knowing that we want one day for you to fit in a university somewhere, come out with a skill, a training, a certificate, and go somewhere. That is what we are doing today. And President William Ruto, in this thing, if by law he's already our leader, then he has to lead us in everything. And he calls that, come, I'm leading you here. If you see me leaving the path, let me know. Participate in it. That is what the president is doing. And if you look at Kenya from independence, the only president who came with a formal vision was Kibaki. And I want you to see the difference between Kibaki and Moi and Kenyatta 1. Don't tell me what it is now. And the only other person coming with another clear roadmap of a future vision, even before this, we were talking about doing major transport infrastructure in this country, manufacturing infrastructure in this country. That is a vision for the future. You cannot build a road to use it only now. So you look again at the difference between President William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta. You have listened to them talk, you have seen them act, and you know their demeanor. And I'm sure you can even guess their intellectual capacity. And then you understand why President William Ruto is doing what he's doing. Do not listen to politicians who want to take his office, telling you things and using what they have told you now to discredit the president. If they have told you the truth, that what the president is doing is starting a journey into the future, then using that against it, that is fine. But when they create their own vision 2060 and then come and use that to criticize him, it is time you, as the youth, learn that these people are never ever telling you the truth. Look at what Vision 2030 consisted of. The social bit, the economic bit, and the political bit. Look at what happened. The construction of the Thika superhighway created a big growth along that route all the way to Thika. In fact, the only gap between Nairobi and Thika now in terms of infrastructural development and building is only the land held by one family that they can't develop. When the bypasses were built around Nairobi, satellite towns they passed through suddenly became miniature cities. With that, we are achieving economic pillar of the Vision 2030 inadvertently, even without noticing it. So we don't have to try to do things directly. We can do them indirectly. You will see what will happen, because you are going to be here for a very long time. What will happen the moment the corridor Ironi to Mau Summit to Busia Road will be complete. Today, I was having a conversation with Tony before you guys came. And we were discussing how the university bus got an accident on their way to a funeral. And he was saying, if we had had the SGR, they would have hired a whole wagon, sat in there peacefully, nobody hanging out, nobody distracting the driver, and they would have come back safely. So lives would have been changed. But SGR to Kisumu is long overdue. Actually, an SGR should be meant for long distances, like Mombasa to Kisumu, not Nairobi to Naivasha. So some of these things are the things we ought to do correctly. Without thinking, we are doing this SGR to serve people of west of the Rift Valley when we are the highest taxpayers. It is not about just tax. It is about opening the country to movement, to trade, to social movements, all that put together. Socially, when we look at the Vision 2030, much has changed about health. And Vision 2030, you know, is not complete. But you have known the struggle we have had with health since Moi. You were not there. One day, Moi wanted to introduce free health in the country. But Moi had no capacity to think, where will the money come from? He just woke up one day and announced that you'll go to hospital and you'll be treated for free. My brothers and sisters, it was not possible. And he had no way of reversing it. What does he do? That time, Kibaki was the health minister. He told Kibaki to go and announce that there will be something small to pay when you go to hospital, because it was just not possible. Then came Uhuru Kenyatta. Kibaki. Kibaki, having gone through that thing of Moi, did not want to do much in health. Uhuru came and told us, I am going to give this country a vision throughout my presidency of the Big Four agenda. I am going to make sure we have universal health care. That means health care that covers everyone. We are also going to have manufacturing, because manufacturing is the pillar of economic growth. Like in China, it's manufacturing that have brought them up.
Yeah.
So they also brought in the food security, food and health, those goes to social. And we expected economic growth to come by. What happened? By the time Uhuru was getting out of office, there was no universal health care. By the time he was going out of office, we had no new manufacturing that had come up. We had no serious food security. In fact, it left us with hunger 250. But somebody brilliant somewhere at a corner was learning, how do I provide universal health care to this country? NHIF could not guarantee us universal health care, because when you go there and you have chronic diseases, they will not attend to you. When you get an accident and you're not registered with them, nothing would happen. So President William Ruto came up with the idea, why don't I let the rich pay? The poor also pay as little as they can. Then we use this pool of money to take care of accidents, chronic diseases, critical diseases, and we also use it as a way of doing primary health care, preventing Kenyans from falling sick. Anyhow, that is truly a universal health care. Today, if you get an accident, you will be treated for the first 24 hours without paying anything. Sure. Today, if you enroll in SHA today and you fall sick tomorrow, you will be paid. Not like then. So those are the things that good leaders run from, leaders who just want power. So the things that we had put in the past, they are now succeeded, and President William Ruto thinks, let's move forward and think about another structured vision for the future for this country. Vision that does not depend on me or who takes over after me. Anybody who comes in moves forward with it. So all of us, let's support that vision for the future of this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let us give a hand to Chairman. Yes, asanteni sana. And I'm going to open the floor now for the second round of your comments, also your reactions to what the panelists wamesema hapo, si ndio? So karibuni sana. Let me just read a comment here on Facebook because we're also live on REDRING TV. Naona hapa Mheshimiwa Martin Ogendo says, congratulations to this robust team of Gen Zs exhibiting depth in the understanding of the need for national conversation beyond Vision 2030. Situjipige makofi jamani. Yes, so you can also tell your friends. Najua kuna wengine wenu wanawatazama hapo, your parents, family, friends and colleagues, ndio waikishikilia hapo. So wacha niwapatie tena nafasi so
Tony,
that
I think with Mundalo here and Alionya, they should ask more questions than you are capable of answering anything.
Yes. Yes, so kama mko na maswali, by the way, this is the moment, ndio? Yes, and also tuanze na pale alafu tukuje huku hivi. Yes, Rose.
I don't have a question, but I just want to react on what the panelists have said. I remember Alionya talked about matters agriculture during the national conversation, and I was pissed off because there were some bloggers who were taking her videos and they were, I don't know, they just wanted to create political gimmicks and they did not get to comprehend with her message. But I feel like what she was talking about was matters devolution. When it comes to devolution, it is not a monolith. I don't think it is only confined to matters administration, but it actually transcends to matters agriculture. Because she was saying, if my county produces maize, why can't I have maize mills in my county? You get the point? I think it has everything to do with devolution. And then second of all, I would also want to agree with advice when he was saying that for Vision 2030, it was only presented to the people and the people did not discuss it. When we were in the conversation, the president said, the Vision 2060 should be made into a law so that incoming administrations can be able to take over from it. One problem with Vision 2030 is that there was no policy consistency, just as I mentioned. Each and every government, when they come in with their own ideas. But you see, for President William Ruto, this is one person who would want to ensure that policy consistency is there. Yes.
Thank you so much, Rose, for that. I think tumpige makofi by the way. I thank you so much because when you mentioned the issue of inconsistencies, I thought it was maybe for individual particular laws within the vision itself. But now that you've at least explained it, it makes more sense because it is the same problem we have also had with county governments where we have got projects which are initiated and then they are not completed. So when the next government comes in, wanaachana nayo, then they initiate another one. So unajua tu what normally happens. Na hii kitu may lead pia into what we have been calling pending bills. Nairobi currently has over 100 billions in pending bills. So I think that was very, very important, and I agree with you, especially on the point that Alionya also mentioned during the conversation. So perhaps you could take in a few more responses and questions, and then we can come back to the panel. Yes, Valerie.
Thank you, Tony. Mine is a comment. I don't, as for now, I don't have a question.
You know, when you don't have a question, it means you've understood everything, or you've understood nothing. But yes, go ahead.
I understood what they are saying.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense. So my comment is, okay, the Vision 2060. Let's not lie to ourselves. It's going to be politicized. There's no point of lying to ourselves and saying, oh, no one will politicize this thing. It will just be smooth sailing. No one will oppose it or not. Let's be real. There are going to be people who are going to politicize it. Media houses, there are some media houses that are going to politicize it. So I think as Gen Zs and as citizens of Kenya, we ought to be sharp. We need to be sharp about this.
Sharp boys and sharp girls.
Yes, we need to be sharp about this thing because, we have been given an opportunity to give out our views and express ourselves. But, just as my sister here said, we are given space to talk, yet we don't know how to package it. So as Gen Zs, we need to be intentional about what you're going to say as you voice out, because there's a reason why a country has a president. You see, yes, there's a reason why the country has a president. Yes, there are these people and everyone has their opinions, but you see, we can be so many. Yes, the idea is there, there are good intentions there, but they actually never see light because there's no organization, there's no coordination in that. So I think as Gen Zs, as a country, we should just come together, form some youth forums, this and that, and then we can now go and express our grievances there, our views there, and then maybe we can have like someone who's running it, because if you have everyone speaking, everyone giving out their opinions here and there, and there is no coordination whatsoever on the ground, the ideas won't see any light whatsoever. So I think that there should be some organization in each county, because this discussion is for everyone. So I think there should be some organizations, some youth forums and all that, so that there's that person collecting all those ideas, someone chairing all those meetings and whatnot. And another thing, I think as a country we should not get stuck on the Vision 2030. Yes, we should look at it and reflect back what did not work, what worked, but you should not get stuck on the wrong ideas about it. As people, we tend to, we are mostly attracted to the negative side of things. So you might find people are stuck on, this did not work, this will not work in the Vision 2060, all that. We should look at the 2030 vision. Where did we not go right? What did we miss out on? And then after evaluating all that, we now learn from the mistakes, and now we incorporate it into the Vision 2060, not getting stuck on the failures of the 2030 vision and all that. And as Gen Zs, I've just said, let's be intentional and very smart, because this thing about the 2060 vision, it's going to be politicized a lot. So we just need to be very smart and intentional about this thing.
Your message is home, Valerie. Thank you so much, and I love the way you've implored the Gen Zs to be intentional. Tumeambiwa tukuwe na pure intentions, ndio? Tukuwe intentional, tafadhali guys. Let us try our best so that we do not thwart this vision, ndio? Asante sana. And I love the conversation venye ina move. I like the way Gen Zs are very diverse, very creative, and also very expressive. Wakipatiwa nafasi wao watasema, ndio? Gen Zs waangaliwe ni nani. By the way, this is your conversation, and I'm happy that you are taking the mic na nawapatia nafasi sahihi. So maybe to you John, alafu tukuje kwako Kandi, we unaona what is it that you want maybe to be ikuwe part of your Vision 2060 that you think ikikuwa addressed then you'll be satisfied as a Kenyan, because hiyo time unajua kwa 50 something, si ndio? Yes, so maybe you can tell us what are your priorities and you unafikiri zinafaa zikuwe captured pale, ni vitu gani zikitengenezwa wewe you'll feel as an individual and as a Gen Z that this vision will work for me.
Okay, thank you for the question. First of all, we were to ask questions.
Yeah.
So I have a question, and it is in good faith to Alionya. So she has specifically said there are maize millers in Thika, but I am a resident of Trans Nzoia, born and bred. We have so many industries in Trans Nzoia. For maize milling companies, we have a cereal board. In my hometown, we have a cereal board. Farmers grow maize and they take their maize there, they sell them, they get income. That's what has paid my school fees. So I don't know why she targeted Thika. Is it strategically? Is it strategic? Because we have Nakuru, we have Mombasa, we have all those places. So
I
I think
mentioned 2 counties. I said, why is it that we now have those industries in Nairobi and in Thika? But I was bringing the idea of, it is because this Nairobi and Thika, there's a lot of infrastructure development. Then we need to devolve the infrastructure development so that industries can equally have equitable share in terms of revenue, whether they are in Busia or at even the border.
So I know Kakamega and the part of Western, they grow a lot of sugarcane. And we have the companies like Sugar Cabras. We have so many companies, we have so many industries for sugarcane in the Western region, and we've not seen any of them in Thika. That's because they grow sugarcane in that area. And maize is not really grown in Kakamega, it's grown in Trans Nzoia in large scale. Coming to what you've asked me, OTB, I have to say, I'm looking forward to see the growth of GDP is usually driven by jobs, how people can be able to go out and fend for themselves. So we need to see jobs creation for the youth in terms of manufacturing, where Mwalimu here said the previous governments have been lagging behind in terms of industrialization and manufacturing. And manufacturing is not only about industries, the one we've been talking about, maize millers and all that. We can also talk about digital economy, the digital economy, because right now here we are manufacturing content. So we need to get to know how youths can be able to monetize their maybe YouTube channels, their Facebook channels, and to get a tangible income that can be able to sustain their livelihoods, like here in the city, you know. Yeah. So what I really want is for youth to be able to fend for themselves. Okay. Like right now, most of us are in that transition period. You don't know, you completed school, you don't know where to go when. Whenever you go somewhere, it's only if you know someone or you know someone who knows another person. You see, even with a connection. So most of us, if you don't know someone who knows someone, you will perish. So kwa sababu ni connections mtu wangu. So that's what I'm trying to say. And in terms of implementation, we hope that this Vision 2060, the one that doesn't have a name and it has been called the People's Development Charter, it has to be generated with the people, and it has to be implemented by the people, because we are the ones who are on the field every day. The politicians wako huko in kazi yao kukwenda parliament and all that, but it is our work to go in the field, to work, to pay taxes, to do all that. So it is our work to generate. So what I wanted to say is we need a clear path of implementation. We hope this thing remains politically neutral. It cannot be used for someone to say, tuangalie track record yangu, because I don't know why we are speaking about it 1 year to election. You see, yeah, it is, I don't know if it is strategic or we will be able to be told by the panelists, but I don't know the objective for it to be spoken about right now, but it is a good conversation.
Thank you so much, John, for that. Tumklokie guys, jamani. Yes, I think that is very, very important. And you've asked a question. I believe the panelists will be able to answer it, especially on the timing. John is wondering why we have to have this conversation now and not when, maybe after elections next year. So it's a question I believe will be dealt with. He's also asked Alionya on your issue ya nini, ya Trans Nzoia na Kakamega.
I wish, I don't know to interject you, but I'm just saying I wish, because the needs are bulky, I wish it would be a conversation so that we can always have a give and take and you can respond. Then, because now when you have all the 7 people with almost 3 questions each, at the end of the day, I think the conversation part of it gets lost. Because again, I come from the place where I believe that just because someone is on the panel like myself, it doesn't mean I have monopoly of wisdom. Yeah. So there are points that you can have a better point than myself. True. So it's important for us to have it more or less as a conversation, so that it's not just you ask, finish, then somebody has monopoly.
So would you prefer then that you answer?
Yeah, I would prefer that since the ones that have been asked and responded, that we are more effective. I don't know that you think the same.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe we'll go. You can handle the one on timing, then we can proceed.
I think let me also add. The conversation I was trying to bring on the table is the conversation of inequality in the social pillar of 2030. Because that inequality is the reason why an investor will be willing to invest in Nairobi, in Thika, in Machakos, because we have the expressway here, we have the SGR, but now we don't have these things in counties that have the climate necessary for the growth of the flowers, necessary for the growth of fruits, necessary for the growth of even the, I think, the vegetables, yeah? So I am bringing a conversation on the fact that moving forward, and it's not only Kakamega, even Eastern has a product it can produce and it will generate a lot of income more than even the maize you're producing. So if there's something, there's a revenue or there's a resource in Eastern, let's say macadamia, what are we going to do in terms of infrastructure to ensure that farmer is able to produce, to process? Because when you're producing, there's someone doing agriculture. When you're processing, there's someone who's not in agriculture, but now waking up every morning, going to the industry, earning something. That is the only way we'll be able to have people live in the affordable housing. Because there's some people who are disqualifying it and saying we don't need the affordable housing in the rural areas. But those rural areas, once you have a road, you have an SGR, you have an airport, trust you me, industries will
one or two industries will start coming up. That industry will develop another complementary industry. We'll now start having a whole, in geography we call it urbanization. People coming to live there, to school there, schools are growing. So that is the whole idea I was trying to bring. It is not an aspect, I know even my sister is mentioning it. People have taken it from the perspective that Mundalo is talking about. Because Alionya is a two-termer, so she's trying to bring an agenda. It is not an agenda. And when I raised that concern, I mentioned two counties, Nairobi and Thika. Nairobi is not central. Nairobi is a cosmopolitan. So I was raising the concern on the issue. Mi najaribu tu kuambia watu, let us raise our standards in terms of development. And that day I wanted to also add, just that the microphone was taken away from me, the aspect of the devolved function. I think my sister Rose has raised it. Hii vision, tusiachie tu kwa presidency, each county should have their vision. That's why I mentioned the Azimio agenda, one county, one product. Because if we, sisi kama Kakamega, we have sugar, we have maize, we have the beans and some of the vegetables. So the experts in Kakamega should think in the next 100 years, how will we be farming that maize, bearing in mind that real estate is also coming up. So how are we going to incorporate technology, etc.? So that is the whole conversation. This is not a conversation of whether we have the many farms in Trans Nzoia. Of course, you can't compare maize milling in Trans Nzoia and Kakamega. For Trans Nzoia is a bit higher. But if you look at the number of industries in Trans Nzoia, they're less than the industries in Thika. That's the whole idea. But it is not a political issue, it is a development issue. So successive governments, and not only the executive, even county government. And I was so much disappointed because in that meeting, we only had around 4 or 5 governors. I think Cecily Barire has been mentioned. I saw the governor of Bungoma. So they were serious governors who saw the need of coming and listening to what Kenyans are saying, so that they can also go and create their own medium-term, quarter-term, development plans, depending with what is their greatest revenue raiser. And then on the aspect of timing, let me just say something. This vision is going to end in the next 3 years. We cannot sit back, wait for the 3 years, ziishe, and then now we start a conversation, to be honest. And this conversation is not Ruto's conversation. He repeated it, Dr. Oburu repeated it, me I am repeating it. Because at the end of the day, mimi hata nimanza, acha hata nitumie platform kujipigania. If Professor Nyong'o will not get a young person who wants to be part and parcel of the committee, I am willing to be there. Because, and you. Because young people tumeanza kuiattack rather than bringing solutions. So that we even start telling Professor Nyong'o, you sat in the committee of 2030. Why should you also sit in the committee of 2060? You should just sit back as an advisor so that you have someone like Mundalo say something. We have experts from the financial sector. But now the young people, you are too much into the one-term and the two-term movement that you don't want to realize that this is our moment. In fact, this is the only way you can show your capability. You come and tell us, I have this idea in terms of videography. In the next 100 years, maybe we'll not be taking videos with these cameras. We'll be using something else. Yeah, so let us come on the table and give the recommendation.
Thank you so much, Alionya, for that. Umesema ushajiambia kazi tayari.
Nimeomba.
Wamekuendorse pia. Wamekuendorse na umeombea Mundalo pia. Asante. I don't know whether you want to add something on the timing.
Yes, I think I also handled that question yesterday. But first of all, I appreciate Alionya here. She has asked for a job for me.
You deserve.
Mwalimu, during your time, I expect you to do the same.
Don't worry, I'll just bring a letter.
So there was the element of the timing of this vision. And there has been people who are asking, why is that timing? Why is it coming when we are moving next to the election? And another person would also ask, why did we have the previous one just after the election? So there will never be a right time that we'll all agree on that it's the right time. But when you have to move forward and there is time for you to move forward, that's exactly what you do. If this vision came 2 years ago, my brother would still ask why now when there was a Gen Z protest. Yeah? There would always be something that would compromise time. And if President Ruto just came in and said, now let's look at Vision 2060, you'd say he has not even done 5 years. He's already taking us to 2060. So there will always be such. So for me, I'm always looking at, can we always sometimes look at the gravity of the conversation and not the theatrics around the conversation? But why do you know why we are always focused on the theatrics around the conversation? It is the reason why our political agenda scored 80%. We are always looking at everything politically and not objectively. And then there was something of that she raised about even embedding these within our law. And I would want to tell you about the Communist Party of China and how China is run. China changes its leadership, right? But it doesn't change the plan. They have a long-term strategic plan of the country. So when everyone comes in, you come in as leadership, you fit into the plan. You can change a few policies here and there. You can have a better way of looking at the formula of implementation, but the end game must remain the same. So that we don't have a place whereby you take over government today, then you say now, wewe umeamua, according to you, the priority is something totally different from what we are doing. And that's why we have stalled projects even in county governments. That's why you have a governor who builds a hospital. Then the other one who comes in says that hospital is not a priority. So he fails to just put in the medicine. Why? Because he thinks when I put in the medicine, it will look like the other one achieved more and I'm achieving less. You get? Yes. So that is the whole plan. Can we be able to even say, in this long-term vision that we are agreeing on as a country, can we all agree that we can embed it within our law and say, yes, we can change leadership. You will come after every 5 years. You might have a better way of looking at it. 20 years from now, the person who is coming into leadership is younger. He has a better formula of implementation. But at least we have somewhere we are going. Not like today, where someone is campaigning to be president and is busy telling you, when I come in, I'll do away with affordable housing. So we go again back. Another one is telling you, when I come in, I will remove SHA. And when he's asked, after you remove it, what do? He says, I'll form a committee to see whether there is something better than that. So those are the challenges that we're dealing with. And then there's something about, I liked this, the industrialization part of it that you are bringing. And I wanted to say, we must always also be able to know that as young people, it is not about the fight to know who is superior. It is about more the fight to know how can we elevate all ourselves and the country. And until you understand the background of someone, you'll always think you'll always think in terms of your own background, and you'll think the other one is wrong. Because sometimes the difference is just you have two sets of information. Yeah, I can be able to assure you that I grew up in Western Kenya, and we had all these milling factories for the sugarcane, and we had sugar. Growing up, Webuye was a highly cosmopolitan town. We even had Indians. I went to school with some Indians at Lugulu Primary School. That is no longer the case today. Something happened. Somewhere hapo katikati, all these factories collapsed. But some of the things that were happening at that time is that sugar was produced in Zoya, but packaging was done in Nairobi. Can you imagine that? That sugar would be transported in a lorry all the way to Nairobi so that it's just put in a bag. So these are realities. We have fish and the fish companies, the processing companies of fish. Predominantly, we understand that fish is in Nyanza, okay? But the company is in Thika. Now, when you're talking to someone from Nyanza, he feels like that is ridiculous. But again, when you come and talk to a person in Thika, then you realize that they also have dams. And they also produce fish, by the way. So sometimes just the different sets of information that we are having that might not necessarily be the same. But if we put our information together, then we'll be able to move the country forward. So that our argument should not always be so that we win. It should be so that the country wins. It should not be that by the time we leave this conversation, people online think that Alionya is intelligent, or they think that Rose is intelligent. It should be that they think that the country deserves better because we had this conversation. When that becomes our modus operandi, we do better. But most of the time, unfortunately, especially for us, the younger generation, every time we open our mouth to speak and there is a camera on, our intention is to trend, not to be objective.
Virality.
Virality.
Clock it if you agree with Mundalo. Sante sana. Thank you. Mwalimu, you want to add something?
Yes, I think we need to understand, as I said in the beginning, what is going on in Kenya. Because the timing of the Beyond Vision 2030 now is an exact mirror reflection of the Vision 2030. What we are doing today, the conversation around Vision Beyond 2030, which you want to call 2060, began in 2006. And when it was ready to be launched, it was now 2008, and they did launch it. Similarly, now is 2026, and we have started the conversation now, with a promise now even to anchor it in law. when it will be ready, people like Alionya, who will be in the secretariat, will come and present it to us. Will come and present it to us maybe in 2027 or 2028, and it will be launched. But because the opposition has made it a political tool against the president, we will always not get the facts correctly. And I told you, the opposition in Kenya today, the one they call United Opposition, the first member is the mainstream media. They promote it, they misguide us, they mislead us, I don't know to what end. So about the timing, it is no different from what we had in Vision 2030. It began in 2006 as a conversation, it was launched in 2008. This one is beginning in 2026 as a conversation, it could be launched anytime towards 2027 or 28 or even beyond. It doesn't matter. But this is a vision. This is a strategic plan for a country, which will also have the midterm ones in between. That is what we need to do. And it doesn't have to be Ruto to do it. Anybody can do it, whoever is sitting there. We are a going concern. We are a nation continuing. What Ruto starts now, if you vote him out next year, somebody will come and continue from where he is left. That is what we call a going concern. Regarding, I think you are talking about why we have, I think, fish manufacturing in Thika and not Kisumu and so on. This is a problem that we were trying to solve with devolution and also solve it with the new Constitution 2010. There was a time in this country there was Coffee Board, Pyrethrum Board of Kenya, Kenya Tea, and there was nothing about sugarcane or fish. Even the sugar board came much later. And it became more regulatory rather than anything that to promote the growth of that. Fish, I don't know whether something has come as still. But it also depends on who are the owners of this. If my village is in Muranga and I want to set up a fish processing plant, I would look to do it in Muranga or Thika, somewhere near my home. That is also something we need to look at and blame the leaders for. But nevertheless, also fish, you must also think about it. Is it good processed near the lake and transported as processed, or transport it first, then process it later? Those are many things to be considered to look after. But now, with the transport infrastructure being improved towards the lake, things may become different going forward. That is why we need a president that looks at all corners of Kenya with the same lenses. Not one who sits down and say, we will not do any infrastructure to places which produce nothing. Those people who produce nothing may want the ones we have produced to reach them because they are Kenyans. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me now go to, I don't know whether you had a question, Alphonse, eh? Ama ilikuwa Kandi. Yeah, let's go to Kandi and then tunaweza enda hivi alafu we'll come to the panel wamalizie.
Okay, so mine is not a question, but just comments on the conversations that we've had. I like to look at the social aspect of things. And today I want to touch on us as Gen Z. A conversation that we constantly have as Gen Z is on jobs. And over the number of conversations that have been had on face-to-face with Gen Z have revolved around jobs. But the panelists have also said that the government is not capable of employing every single individual. So as Gen Zs, it is also up to us to look at ways in which we can get gainful employment. When we look at Vision 2030, when we look at the economic pillar, we talk about roads, we talk about development. And what this does, it opens up regions for economic opportunities in terms of entrepreneurship and opening up of businesses. There's people, generations who have come before us, who say that there's no such thing as not having something to do. There's always something that you can always do. Unfortunately for us, Gen Z, maybe we can blame it on technology and how we want to get rich quickly. We assume that money should come in very fast and within certain professions. Personally, I have a degree in international relations, but I also said I sell sweet potatoes. There's people who would think that that is not a source of income because it is not the ideal type of job. So we need to open up our minds in terms of what am I able to do outside of what the government is able to provide for me. Now, in terms of the vision, we're calling it Vision 2060. There's a conversation that was had around something called hack. And one of the people that spoke mentioned two numbers, the number 75 and the number 100. 75 represents the percentage of youth, of the youthful population in Kenya. So we are the majority. And the 100 is basically saying, what can we do in terms of development for the next 100 years? So we are not just focusing on the next 30, the next 40, 100 years plus. And HACK also have a website that they launched on that day. Before we started having this conversation today, I went to the website and they have something called a capsule where they're asking people to populate it, give solutions, give ideas that can be used to progress Kenya, not just internally, but also within the diaspora, and have this conversation internationally. But when you look at the feedback, it is disappointing. Why? Not all counties have people who have spoken or commented or given their feedback on that website. There are about 17. On top of that, there's a statistic that was done recently, and it says that Kenya is leading in AI usage globally by 97%. Now, the question is, how is AI being used in Kenya? Are we using it for the right reasons? Are we using it for development? You know? And a problem we have within us Gen Z is that we want to blame everything outwardly. We're not looking in on ourselves. I've talked about Hack 7, I'm calling it Hack 75. Why don't we populate it? Tell government, tell the people who have come up with this program, this is the problem, these are the solutions. And if they're not implemented, then we can come back in 2, 3, 10 years and say, we gave you guys the conversation, we gave you the solutions, we gave you the ideas. Where is the feedback? Because all we are doing is being very reactional. And that's a conversation that constantly happens on face-to-face Gen Z, where we have us as Gen Z, we are always saying, inimbaya, inimbaya, inimbaya.
Yeah.
But where is the solution? And the way in which we are also projecting it, it is more emotional, more than it is objective. And when you're emotional about something, there's no clarity and it won't go anywhere. But if you give someone an objective response or feedback, they're able to process it and say, well, this is actionable, this is not actionable. So we also need to change our delivery. There's another statistic that was done on the intelligence along generations. And actually, Gen Z have been considered the less intelligent out of all generations. That says something. And it has also to do
Because you're a millennial.
it is not exactly an insult, but it's worrying. Because we are not, number one, we have a very short attention span. We want something that just comes quickly and we move on to the next thing. We don't want to listen to advice. We don't believe in processes. We just want what we want and we want it now. And that in itself is a problem. So we need to start reading more.
Okay.
People are not reading. There's a friend of mine who recently closed her bookshop. And that was sad because she was not generating income. People are not reading. We just want to be on our phones. and social media. And sometimes, if not most of the times, what we are internalizing is more negative than it is positive to what it is doing to us. Then I want to focus on emotional manipulation. Siasa haifai kuwekwa kwa roho, iwekwe kwa mapafu.
Kwa lungs.
Yes, weka kwa lungs. Let us just be very objective. If we want to be taken seriously, if we want a seat at the table, then we need to learn how to communicate without insults, without screaming, without shouting. Tukae chini, and let's also understand what it is that we want the older generations to do for us and what we ourselves can offer to them. Because we're not saying that we don't have ideas and we don't have solutions. We do. But we also need to meet them halfway. Thank you.
Asante sana Kandi. Number 1, tusome, si ndio? Tusome, somebody close the bookshop, sababu tununui vitabu, atusomi. And then also, atutaki to listen, we don't want to listen to advice, Mundato. So, tusikie advice tafadhali, si ndio? Thank you so much Kandi for that observation, and I know it's a conversation tumekuwa hapo hapa nayo mara mingi sana, especially on the aspect of emotional intelligence na kuheckle. Ni venye hapa face to face with Gen Z huwa tuko na good manners. On many other platforms, there's a lot of heckling. Alionya, you're a victim of heckling. People start just heckling anyhow. So maybe let me take in a few more responses on that end. Alafu sasa tukuje tumalizie huku. Is there anybody I'm leaving out? Kama uko na kitu usiende nayo, usirudi nayo nyumbani. Yes, Alphonse.
Yes, thank you so much, Tony. So I think on my side, the question that I would like to ask is to our panelists, what is the roadmap to political maturity? Because I think, to what extent do you believe that our political differences should supersede our ideological conformity and objectivity? Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because if you have an opposition that prays for the government to fail, and you have a government that fears critique, it means that the implementation of the policies that have been foreseen in that Vision 2030 will not happen, right? And what is your opinion on our consistency when it comes to criticism or assisting the government to achieve their objectives? Why am I saying that? Today, if you look at, there was a headline that was going on Standard that most of the opposition, most people are they are coming out of government and joining opposition. Now, I want to give you a scenario. The same people, some of them voted to the Assent of Finance Bill 2024-2025, a bill that the young people considered to be outrageous, right? Today, they are rebranding themselves as revolutionists, Deputy Jesus, who by the virtue of just saying one term, they are coming to give us change. You see, from that particular line, there is no ideology of these people. It's about political interest. What I can say is that majority of these guys, what they are doing is they are trying to hide their incompetence under the misfortunes of this government. So to what extent should we allow our political difference to affect our ideological objectivity? The next, someone talked about making our policy statements into law when it comes to the visions that we have for the country. And to what latitude should we allow for the flexibility? Because you see, once you make it a law, most of those policies, they are subject to microeconomic factors, right? So we have international factors that can affect those particular policies. So to what extent should we allow for flexibility when such matters arise? Then we need to also align. You see, once a policy is a clear roadmap, of where we are going. So what leaders should tell us is the how bit. Already what is supposed to be done, we know. The how is the problem. So there should be an extent to which the manifestos that politicians are coming with should try to address the kind of policy reforms that we need. So I think those are the kind of observations that I've made. And in totality, what I need to see is a country that is food secure, where the healthcare system is affordable, accessible, and works, where we have prioritized infrastructure development and economic development, where the GDP growth rate is in such a way that it is able to contain the issue of unemployment in this particular sector. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the question. We are really pressed on time, so allow me to take 2 more responses, and then I come to the panelists to answer the questions and give their parting shots. Yes, Francis.
Mine is not a question, but just to raise an alarm to our generation, the Gen Zs, as we are called. Because today in this country, we have a set of politicians who have sat in a room and they have imagined themselves being presidents, not actual presidents. And now we have the legal president, whom we know was duly elected by the majority of Kenyans. Now, the set of politicians or leaders who have imagined themselves being presidents, they also have their followers who view them and perceive them as presidents. So anything the legal president comes out with is not perceived as a vision from a president, but now it is seen as a vision of William Ruto, is seen as a vision of Oburu Odinga, is seen as a vision of Anyang' Nyong'o and the rest. So, my fellow Gen Zs, can we learn and have the art of differentiating what should be politicized and what should never be politicized? For us to be sit in this room, having everything that we are seeing, a man sat somewhere and had a vision of coming up with a red ring. When red ring was coming, I was not there. But today, I'm among the beneficiaries of red ring. Why? It has given me a platform to speak on matters concerning our country. Presidents will come and go. Deputy presidents will come and go. Even me, when I was born, the area MP of where I was born, today is not the MP there. And maybe in the 2027, the MP today might not be there. So we have to agree as a country. My fellow youths have said, we need clarity as we approach matters of politics, and we need clarity as we approach matters of development. Let us not politicize everything. Thank you.
Yes, finally.
He has asked a question. I just want to answer his question. He has asked when the vision has been passed into law, how can we ensure flexibility, right? Before something becomes a law, we have to go through legislative processes first. And the first step of legislative processes is for public participation. Like right now, even what we are doing here is public participation. So even the conversation, as the conversation is ongoing, the whole country will be able to participate in that conversation. And then again, for it to ensure flexibility is accountability also. After it has been passed into law, we can now come. One problem with Vision 2030 is that there was no implementation. So even in Vision 2060, as we transcend to Vision 2060, we as the citizens, we can actually ensure these people are accountable to Vision 2060. Yes.
Sante sana. Thank you so much, Rose, for that. Let me now come to briefly.
Yes. So a minute. Okay. So I'm happy that my sister has spoken about what we call it has skipped my mind. So when it comes to matters to do with the public participation, I heard the president say that moving forward, there should be a policy that allows the political class to pass bills without asking the people. I don't know if everyone saw that.
No.
You did? So that's what I wanted clarification on, because she has spoken about public participation. And then to answer my sister here who has said that we like, that the Gen Zs like complaining there is no jobs. We have not said we want to be employed, all of us, by the government. Okay. What we have said is we need to have policies like interest rates. If now you want to borrow a loan from a commercial bank, you will be asked to pay a double digit in terms of interest rate, and that is very high considering the level and the standards of living in Kenya right now. So that's what we are alluding to. If the interest rates are considerate, we will be able to ask to borrow loans and to start our own business like she did. So we are not asking to be employed, all of us, to be secretaries.
Very clear, very clear. Okay. Thank you so much, guys, for those questions and responses. Allow me at this point to invite the panelists to respond to them, and may they also give us their parting shot so that we bring this to a close. Otherwise, thank you so much. By the way, tujiclap here because we've done very well. Yes. So tutaanza nawe Alionya, and then we'll move to Mundala, and finally we'll conclude with the chairman. Karibu Alionya.
I think Alphonse had asked, how can we do politics without emotions? And I think as you were mentioning heckling, you used me as an example. I don't know what it is with me as a Leonia, and I'm still asking God, because I will go to media stations, I will be insulted, but people will remember me and they will not remember the person who insulted me. If you look closely in my journey being in the media spaces, I'm always reacting to an insult. Over time, I have sat and realized, when you argue with evidence, you win. Unajua wenye mtu amesema kwetu Trans Nzoia kuna maybe maize milling factories 2 3 4, you know, you cannot argue with that person because he has given you the name, he has given you where the factories are. So the debate, the other person will now be seen the most akili haiko. So maybe my advice to fellow young people, this is something I learned maybe way past 2024, because 2024 we were insulting people and I was there. Na ni vizuri kukubali correction, my brother, because my sister here is telling us that we don't read. Like when I made a remark in KICC, a lot of blogs wrote very different, a totally different thing from what was even reported with Citizen TV itself. So they added salt, they added the aspect of tribalism, of trying to show that the people of Western are fighting the people of Central, which is actually not the case. So when you read something, when you see something on social media, a blog has written that Alionya said, either go to the page of Alionya, either go to the page of Citizen where it has been reported, like just go somewhere, watch it, just take 3 minutes. Even though we don't like concentrating, we don't like reading. Me, I've started reading as a culture last year, and I'm a graduate with first class honors.
Congratulations, Alionya.
But I was cramming. Now, when it comes to you reading a book intentionally and carrying out lessons from it is a serious issue. You just want to read gossip. You want to read. Alionya has a first class honors in CRE and history. That becomes a better conversation than when now you are, maybe the president has written 3 paragraphs talking about percentage and interest rates. So if we want to do away with emotions, always argue with evidence, in a beating emotion 100%. And I think that's why I love the discussions that Kina Mundalo and the other guy called Odhiambo. They will always come with facts, whether they are defending someone or attacking someone. It saves you, because when now you go on record, you are able to give tangible data. And then the other one is avoid insults. Me, ni venye uwa mnani insult, so I just realized that I'm a human. I just insult you back because you're not God. So I insult you back to just show you I am human. But I think I've never insulted people. I actually react. When you tell me my first class is in CRE, I just tell you have a first class in geography and economics, and it is wrong for you to look down. But I will do it with a lot of hasira mingi kama ya Mili Mabona. So you'll think I have insulted you, but I was just reacting to you. So 2 things. Avoid arguing with emotions, argue with evidence, and then don't insult people. Like the exchange you have had here, nobody has said, we una akili, sijui unafikiria kama mtu wa kuku, kwanza watu wa tuta mnaambia, unafikiria juu umelipwa, sijui nini. Listen to what they are saying. Mwambie, hiyo barabara unasema, mimi inisaidii in this and this manner, so that naye pia aji-explain. And I like what Mundalo has said. And this is something that has been written by a lot of psychologists. We are always arguing from a point of experience. Well, ujui mimi maisha yangu nimepitia aje. That's why maybe I talk when I'm shouting. There are other people, you'll never see them shouting. Hata wakose kiasi gani. There's a way we have been raised. So we are always speaking from our points of experiences. And then I think as my parting shot, I think I would say, as Gen Zs, we need to know that Singapore might be high, but it is achievable. And maybe as a joke, I was Googling something about Singapore and I realized Netanyahu used to punish people. If you are foolish, you are not supposed to give birth. So it's only intellectuals. But that is true. He was actually a true dictator. He needed people who can do engineering. He was so much focused into STEM. So if I don't know how they measure IQ, if they realize that you are not well upstairs, you are not allowed to say a kid. And many other things, the tough decisions that he had to make for Singapore to be white is. So as young people, pia si tujiulize, what are the tough decisions we have to do? One of them is reading. Your research and watu wanaongelelea. Another one is doing away with emotions. And the only way you can do away with emotions, avoid social media. Or if you're consuming social media, try to look at or sieve your algorithm. Don't just sieve gossip. Don't just sieve insult. If you keep on listening to someone who is always shouting, you'll find yourself shouting. If you listen to someone who is always giving inspirational talks, you just find yourself here una inspired to watu na talks. So if we can make tough decisions for our own country 60 years from now. Thank you very much.
Wow, let us give a hand to Alionya. Sindio? Thank you so much Alionya for those pieces of advice. Hata mimi nimelearn something from you. Nitaanza kusoma sasa. Na venye umesema niachane na emotions kabisa. Thank you so much for that, and thank you so much for coming to REDRING TV every now and again. Tunakuitanga. You are an inspiration to many and many more, sindio? And may God bless you kwa kila kitu ambayo unafanya, sindio? Let us move to advice Mundalo. Please speak to us na pia tupatie parting shots na pia wewe tuambie.
Thank you. I think let me start from, there was a question about what can we do to change our politics? And I think I like that question. And there is actually no shortcut. The only thing we can do to change our politics is to change the people. The problem is that we as the people are always thinking that the leaders are the problem. And when I internalize and check out these leaders very well, today, when I was in high school, I believed the leaders were the problem. I got to campus and still thought the leaders were the problem. Now, I see my colleagues part of the leadership. And I'm still seeing a problem. And it can't be the same thing, and then I'm expecting different results. And so I want to challenge you that the reason why you are thinking that the leaders are the problem is just that you are younger. Very soon, you yourself will again be in the leadership. And probably again, the people will still be thinking that there is a problem. So what I think is that until we are able to change ourselves as the people, so that we start exercising issue-based politics, we can't change the politics. And we must stop being people who are intellectually lazy. When you're intellectually lazy, you respond quickly to emotions. If any time someone says something does not please you, your emotions get up very high. It means intellectually you are lazy. I can challenge you that most of the time when you sit with the people whose intellectual capacity is above average, even when you tell them the highest amount of insults, they sit calmly and some of them will even nod until you finish, and then they will respond calmly, objectively. So our intellectual laziness is so high, and that's why we are always quick, want to respond to things quickly. And we want no one to tell us that we are wrong. We always want to be the ones to say who is wrong, and it should never be us. And the leaders we keep pointing at, we don't want anyone to remind us that we are the ones who got them there. Because our leaders don't get there through osmosis.
Or diffusion.
Or diffusion. We are the ones who actually put them there. And when you check very well, in the next election that you are going to, some of you seated here will cross over and join the leaders.
Amen.
So is it true that when they go the other side, someone becomes foolish? I don't think so. I actually think the people continue being the problem, and that's why an objective person today who has done their very good work as a member of parliament, they have developed their constituency somewhere in Mount Kenya, today is being forced by his people to join DCP. And that is the problem. And so because this leader has to look at the reality of the election, he now has to bend to the low intellectual laziness of his people for political survival. But when we raise the bar and make the conversation about issues, you'll be able to see that most of the leaders that will remain with will be the creme de la creme. Today, we are discussing the vision. Yeah? Can every political party provide us with what their outlook is of how the vision should look like? Or do they want you to simply shout one term? I can assure you that most of you here have better arguments than your party leader.
Where?
But you can't help it. You have to stay there and keep calling him Your Excellency. Yes, sir. Mheshimiwa. Yet they can't put up half half the arguments that you can actually put up here. I have sat in panels with some of the young people from different political parties, and I would see a young person struggle to defend their party leader and actually put up a better argument than their own party leader put up when they were being interviewed. So the first step for us to actually be able to change some of these things, my brother, is that as a people, we have to accept that we are part of the problem. And when we accept that we are part of the problem, we raise the bar to where we want it to be. When we raise the bar to where we want it to be, trust me, those who don't make sense will just fall off. We will need to do nothing about it. We will just fall off. If today we decide that we are going to elect people purely on the basis of what is your agenda and what do you plan, trust me, people will just fall off. We will not need to do much. But because we want to accept to be mobilized on ethnic grounds and want to be accept to be mobilized on emotional grounds, that becomes the problem. That's why your politician loves you much when you are emotional. That is where they want to push you. Every time they want to push you to get annoyed. And that's why when Alionya speaks whatever she will speak, they will take it and package it in a manner that annoys. So that when you get it, you get so mad at Alionya, and your resultant effect of your madness is the benefit of your party leader. So the party leader gets your vote because you got mad at Alionya, who is not vying. So that is usually some of the problem. So I always argue that delete your emotions from governance, by the way. Delete your emotions from governance and we'll make progress. Do not think that governments, I've always told you that governments do not exist for a love and hate relationship. It's not romantic. Stop imagining that President Ruto exists so that you love him or hate him. No, he exists because he's been given a mandate, and therefore what we should be accountable for is the governance. Where is he taking the country? So don't accept to be bullied into a situation whereby you have a love and hate relationship with your member of parliament. At you don't like him. So you don't like him, so what? Yeah? Me too, I don't seem pained too. Because the problem is this, by the way, whether you love him or hate him, it is 5 years. So which one is better? Which one is better? Collaborate and ensure that he is serving you in the best way forward. Someone talked about the element of, will we even be listened to? Will our ideas just go like that? And I always say, package your ideas right and participate. Because governments, again, and governments are not run on emotions. So trust me, people will participate. As you'll be busy making noise that young people have not been included, suddenly you'll see young people on the table. Then you'll again say, how were they arrived at? But you never applied. You never tried to show interest. And then when they tell you that they picked Alionya because she spoke at REDRING and said she can be part of it, you say that was a wrong formula. So I always argue that please just come out and ensure that your voice is heard. That's why people who present the voice are better than those who present the noise. There's a lot of noise that happens on the street. But we have very few people who actually package bills and say, we want, on this youth unemployment, we all can make noise, but can we have a youth employment charter? And people put up and they take it to parliament and that is acted upon. By the way, we exist in a country of rule of law. And it's so difficult for you to evade the law of the country of Kenya. Do you know that when you write a letter today to a government institution, they must respond to you within 24 hours? They must, it's our law. So that is how it should be. And then lastly, about the element of we cannot put the entire things into law. By the way, I agree that everything cannot be a law. Because again, it also means we are doubting ourselves too much. But what we are saying is that can we all agree as a country and say this is our vision? You see, if we agree that we are going to Thika, that is the destination. So when we give you the driver's seat, you can choose to go to Mombasa Road and then go to Machakos and go through Kitui and get to Thika. Another one can choose to use the Thika Road and get to Thika. But we have at least agreed that we are all going where? To Thika. So the model operandi is, as you come in as a government, of course, there are those things that you can change, but the destination remains the same. Closingly, as we move towards the vision of the country and as we move towards implementing what we are looking forward to becoming as a country, I look forward to a country where we have done a lot on infrastructure, but we need to do more on productivity. Can our industrialization be better? Can our enterprise be better? That way, our employment status will even rise. That as we move into the next dispensation of how we want the country to be in our Vision 2060, can we move from just looking at GDP as a figure to income? So that, are we just saying double-digit economy? Or is the person in my village in Bumula feeling that in their pocket down there? So that at the end of the day, it must come down to the household income. And as we look forward to the vision, I look at a situation where our country will have institutions that have more legitimacy to the people than the politicians. Because as it stands today, we believe our politicians more than the institution. That is why when EACC says Mwalimu Odoyo is corrupt, we quickly say he's a Luo. And we believe the fact that he's a Luo more than he's corrupt. So as we move the country to that next dispensation, that is what I'm looking forward to. That at the end of the day, a child that's born in Kenya at that time has an equal opportunity to the child born in Singapore. And that's why I'm greatly in support of anything that makes us think progressive. Thank you.
I'm adding nothing to that, Mundalo. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And feel much welcome to REDRING once again.
Asante.
Alafu pia wenye mmeambiwa REDRING is the right channel ya kutumia sawa sawa. Karibu mwalimu.
So I think that without Mundalo, I don't know who would have said such statements. My sister Leonya, I want to tell you something. There's a philosopher who once said, when the debate is lost, insults is the tool of the loser. And that diversion and name calling, they are struggling to protect their egos. That is why they are running away from the real thing. So whenever somebody insults you in a debate, know you are the winner and he is the loser. That is it. Just remind them that when the debate is lost, insults becomes the tool of the loser. That is what works for them. But I have always said here multiple times that we have reached a time where we are playing politics in this country using propaganda only. And propaganda is built by only one very known path. Look for the fears of the people. Use it to throw in a lie. Then use that first lie to protect all future lies. And use now those lies to justify even other lies going forward. Mundalo, this thing happened sometimes in the 80s. When AIDS became the greatest fear of the world, the Soviets saw an opportunity to destroy America. And what did KGB do? They did what all propagandists do. They sponsored an item in a newspaper in India, a very small one, and it was anonymous. And because the world would look at India as largely neutral in the battle between the US and the Soviet, they didn't take it seriously. But after that now, the Soviet started pushing in certain lies, which they used that newspaper report to defend, to justify as an evidence. And they went that, unfortunately for them, America was also very powerful in their own process of investigation. They went on until the authors of that lie was cornered, until they admitted that that was a lie they had put there to destroy America with the rest of the world. Because at that point in time, you had to choose between the US or Russia. And the majority of the world was choosing the US, partly because of the democracy in there. So propaganda is used like that. They look for your fears most. That is what we did here in this very country, in the first street protests. The biggest fear of the Kenyan at that point in time was the cost of living. And that is what we used to send them to the streets against a man who had not read his first budget. And we knew when they go to the streets, some people would be killed. And that would be a fact. And that is now what we again use against them. This is a killer government. And that is how it works. So we use now these deaths as good reason, as evidence that this is a bad government. And when you try to tell them, this is normal, it happened during so and so, they tell you, no. Two wrongs don't make a right. There's some things we call pedestal arguments. We use them in grazing fields when we are looking after cattle, or in bars and in shop doors when we are holding the rail den and somebody has bought for us a 1 liter or 2 liter sodas and we are enjoying. So that is what happens in Kenya today. Now, The argument you see everywhere why Ruto now must go is because he's a killer. But do you know the joke? The thing you see that happens a lot is only because you have been informed about it. Do you know how many people died in Shakahola and we didn't know even one person died? They were in their hundreds. Until the media informed us, we did not know. And some things you can be informed until you think the world is coming down. I was telling Wakina Tony here earlier that if you want to think Nairobi is on fire, go to a police station and sit near the OCS. You hear the police radios, the thing they are saying in Githurai, in Donholm, everywhere, and you think Nairobi is on fire because the information is reaching you. In 2019, 2020, something came here called COVID. Do you know, we believed Kenyans were dying every second. Now go and look at the records. You'll find the deaths in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020 are all the same average. But because at that point in time, the media was reporting it on a daily basis, announced by the minister himself, we believed so many people were dying.
Today.
So the media can hype something until it becomes the truth, until we begin using it as evidence. And that is what is happening in Kenya today. Think twice, fact check everything. And remember now, it is even worse because now we have social media, which now can be controlled by algorithms. They send to you what they want you to hear. Be basing it on what you already believe, what they already believe you know. Today, even if you receive a message here talking about cars, go to your social media, the first thing that will be advertised in marketplace for you is a car. That is how it works on you. They monitor you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, our panelists, and also to the Gen Zs for gracing the great show today. That has been face-to-face with the Gen Z today. And you know what happens every other Saturday? That is the kind of discussion we have today. So I want to thank you also in a special way. Hopefully this is not the last time tunakuwa na hii conversation. My hope is that whatever we have discussed hapa today to share na wenzetu ambao wako pale nje, si ndio? I always say you are not in this room by mistake. You are here because you have earned your space. And it is my hope that you continuously represent the people who are watching us today. To you, the viewer who has been watching us for the past 2 hours, thank you so much. We appreciate you. And we hope that you continue staying with us. Special thanks also to our production team from Jamal Odur, Faith Arena, Errol, and also Wycliffe Nyagol for being with us and for staying on standby, ensuring that everything is in place and that all goes well. Thank you so much for being with us. For now, we say bye-bye, but we shall be here every Saturday from 2:30 p.m. Stay with us. Asante sana. My name is Tony Blair.
This is REDRING TV.
Hey, my name is Jalango, Member of Parliament, Langata constituency, and I am in the REDRING TV.
Mambo vipi watu wangu wa nguvu, kama kawaida ni kijana wako kaka J.
Kwa majina naitwa Honorable Clinton Nyawanga.
Ghetto President.
Make sure that you subscribe.
Siku zote tune in into REDRING Media ili uweze kupata uondo wote.
Kindly like, follow,
be able to enjoy beautiful interviews.